Hi, welcome back. This is going to be episode 3 on the BSA Engine Rebuild. Uh, this is the same day actually that I left off the last time. I'm just carrying on here. I decided I didn't want to make that last video too long because people don't watch them if they're too long, frankly. So anyway, starting off this one, I've got the crank, of course, as you can see, it's up there in the vise. I've removed the connecting rods. And I have measured the throws. Now these are 1.686 and they're round. They're not out of round. This is 3,000 under inch and a half. So that's 1.497. So yeah, I might be able to work with this kind of stuff if I make that bushing myself. Anyway, we'll cross that bridge when we get to it, but I do have rotocast bronze here, so I can make those bushing cells if I need to, or I can just buy new ones. But I might get away with it. Like, I have to check the book and make sure that these are within tolerances, but I'm thinking that's the standard grind. Don't quote me on that. Like I said, I have to check the book and make sure that I'm right about that before I proceed with anything. So let me show you really quickly. This is the connecting rod that came from the right hand side. This one has a good bushing up top. It's not loose or anything on the small end there. That's good. The main bearings, by the markings on them, I think they're standard. But as you can see, this one's got a little bit of a slight battering going on, but I'm not really sure if I'm showing you dirt there. Let's wipe that off with my finger. Come on, camera, focus in. Yeah, there's a little bit of what you might call spalling. That's where the bearing material is starting to flake away from the insert itself. Now this is the connecting rod from the left-hand side. This one has quite a bit of spalling going on, especially on the top bearing shell. I think if the camera just focused in, so it should pick that up. So anyway, I don't trust this connecting rod to be reused where this eye is all loose on the bushing. I mean, I could run a reamer through there and put a slightly oversized bearing in it, but I don't like the idea. You don't know what's going on at the microscopic level with especially with aluminum. So I have new rods on the way, or should I say new used rods on the way. So anyway, I just wanted to mention the left rod on these engines usually comes with one hole on one side. If you have a rod with one hole, that hole faces outwards toward the bearing, which would be that bearing right there. And the idea is to give that bearing a little bit of extra lubrication. But this connecting rod has two holes. One from this, maybe they changed this in 1969. I don't know, but anyway, a little extra oil coming out of there to help lubricate the bearings in the cylinder. Doesn't hurt at all, as long as it doesn't take too much oil away from the journals. And the journals look pretty good. They should polish up really nice with a bit of fine water paper. And anyway, I still need to check in my manual and find out what the tolerances are on those journals before I make a final decision. So while I've got it up in the vise, I'll see if I can get that old, what do you call that thing there, that screw out of the end of the sludge trap there, and see how much junk and gunk is stuck inside of there. I'll wager it's quite a bit. Okay, well, I got the sludge trap plug out of there, but it was not an easy fight. 9 times out of 10, you wind up having to drill these bloody things out and then chip them away with a little cape chisel till you get them out. I managed to get this one out without hurting the threads inside. Of course, That's useless. I can't use that again. But being that was an original plug in there, I was hoping it would come out easy. But this is par for the course. 9 out of 10 will fight you tooth and nail all the way to get out of there. Now, to get the actual sludge trap out of the hole, I have a little trick. Now, I haven't tried this yet, so you're seeing this in real time. Do not forget to take the that little locating bolt out, because you will not get the sludge trap out of there with that bolt in place. So I'm going to set that down here. What I find works really good for this stuff is a large easy out. Just wipe the crap off of there so you can see that. That's a good size one, and I just stick that in there in the end of the sludge trap. Give it a few taps to get the flutes seated into the trap itself. Now, I don't know if this is going to make a monkey out of me or not, but usually they come right out. Okay, that one's turning. Give it a few more twists there. And with any luck, after that, some people use a tap on these to get them out. But like I say, I find these easy outs, this is one good thing that an easy out is actually good for. All right, it's loose, but it's, I don't want to damage that crankshaft end or anything. So, okay, give it a couple more twists to make sure it's loose. If I pull on that while I'm twisting, it may come right out, or I may have to nudge it along a little bit with a hammer. I prefer not to hit on it if I didn't have to. No, that one's not going to come out without a little bit more persuasion. So I will just, there. Oh, no, it didn't come out. Son of a bitch. Okay, back in there. Tap that in a few more times. Make sure the flutes are seated, like I said. Pull it back out again. Okay, she's loose. Let's see if that'll come out of there. There she comes. All right, that is your sludge trap tube. That's where your locating bolt goes down in to keep that tube in place. Now, let's just have a little look. I don't know if the camera can look down in there. No, there's really not a lot of stuff in there. There's drillings from where I drilled out that bolt and stuff. Just have a little look down in the hole with my flashlight. Yeah, there's a little bit of junk inside of there. Nothing too serious though. Here, I'm going to pull the camera off the tripod, and I'll shine the light in there and see if you can see anything. And there is a little bit of junk in there, but not a serious amount or anything, so that's good to know. Somebody, at least, you know, even though they didn't seem to take very good care of it, at least they must have changed the oil fairly often. That's a good thing. Yeah. Cheapest engine job you'll ever get, by the way, is an oil change. All right, so that's it for this. Let me think, what else comes next? Well, just give this crank a really good cleaning up, and like I say, I'll find out if this thing actually needs a regrind or if I can get away with the journals just the way they are. Well, I got quite a little list of stuff ordered up there for the BSA engine. Anyways, while I'm waiting for that stuff to come along, I decided I'd clean up some of these connecting rods. I got a replacement rod for the one that I don't trust, this one right here. This is the one that had the loose bushing in the eye, and that was really loose. I mean, with that that bushing banging in around in there in that hole to the point where it opened that up quite a bit. I don't really trust to use that rod again. Anyway, I ordered this used one off of eBay, And this one, of course, well, it looked just like this one when I got it, you know, but I like to polish up my connecting rods before I put them in. This is what the old ones look like. They got the old forging flash on there and stuff that they don't worry too much about smoothing anything off. Me, I like to polish stuff up. It's supposed to create a stronger connecting rod. I don't know if it really does or not. You don't have to do this if you don't want to. If it's a job you don't feel like tackling, well, just leave them like that. But anyway, that's the replacement that I'm going to be putting in for that left connecting rod. Now I got to get polishing up the right one. There we go. Two nice shiny connecting rods, all ready to go. I, of course, will be replacing those small end bushes. I have those coming, so when they show up, I'll replace them and ream them out nicely so they fit nicely on the wrist pins. One little thing I wanted to mention: these are not created equal. On one side, you are going to find there are no holes up in here, and no passage drilled through. This rod goes on the right hand side. This rod, on the other hand, has a little passage drilled up through there and a hole that comes out on that side. This faces the drive side bearing on the left hand side, that hole right there. So when you put it together, just kind of remember that. And actually, the original connecting rod, the one that was bad, was on this side. This one actually had two holes, one going on each side. Now this is a 69 motor. Maybe it's got something to do with that, because I've never seen a connecting rod with two of those little holes on it right there. But this one, I have one hole, so it worked for all the other years, so it ought to work for this one too. Anyway, before I put these in the engine, of course, I will definitely be giving them a good scrubbing and a bath and some nice hot water and soap to make sure I get all that polishing compound off of there. But anyway, that's just about it for those rods, so it should be good to go. Oh, back to rods and caps and bolts again. I just wanted to mention there are some really nice aftermarket connecting rods out there now. Of course, it's the steel Carrillo type, and there's a type that's machined from solid billet aluminum. They're all very nice, and you know, those would make a good choice if you were rebuilding an engine and you wanted, I don't know, maybe you wanted to track it a little bit, you know, take it out on the races a bit. That'd be a good choice for something like this, rather than using a 55-year-old connecting rod. Because anyway, this bike is not going to be track ridden or anything like that. It's just going to be ridden around secondary roads and out for nice, you know, Saturday and Sunday drives and that sort of thing. So these rods should be just fine for that. I really wanted to talk about bolts, though, for a moment or two. A lot of people are going to gasp at this statement, but I have no problem reusing old connecting rod bolts as long as the threads are in perfectly good condition. That's including the nuts as well. Like if the nuts are good and snug on the threads when you're screwing them on, and the threads are clean and everything, I have no problem reusing old connecting rod bolts on a bike that's not going to be track driven. The reason why I do that is because if you buy new bolts for these, they're not made by BSA anymore unless you get new old stock. But the thing is that you don't know what the quality of the new ones you're buying are unless you know you're buying from a top quality machine shop or something like that, who are making bolts out of the appropriate material and that sort of thing. This is why I prefer to just reuse the old bolts unless they've been stretched. There is a little thin spot here and here on these bolts, right here and right there. And I like to measure that. These ones are between 307 thou and 306. If it was below 305, I think I might consider going looking for another bolt then. But in any case, if the bolt begins to stretch, these thinner areas are going to neck down and become smaller. So that's a good indication of whether the bolts have been over torqued or not. But anyway, that's just my rule of thumb. I've never seen it written anywhere, but like I say, 305 is my stopping point where I would go looking for new bolts. But I would definitely go looking for new old stock, or even bolts from another set of connecting rods that had the thicker area here. That way you know those bolts were not overstressed or over torqued. So anyway, I don't think I'm going to talk about connecting rods anymore, so we'll get on with it when I start doing something else, I guess. Well, this was a very pleasant surprise. I put this order in with British Cycle Supply, I think on Wednesday, and here it is on Saturday, and I've got this. In spite of being a little upset stomach and that sort of thing, this kind of makes my day. I got all my seals that I need to put the engine together. I have new friction plates for the clutch. I've got a new bushing for the timing side. I have two nice new shiny 40 thou over pistons. Like usually when I order stuff from British Cycle Supply and it's coming from the US warehouse, I can wait for like 2.5, 3 weeks before that stuff shows up, especially if it's coming in by mail. But this came by courier, I guess because it was a big enough box and an expensive enough price tag on it that it came by courier. So yeah, it got here way quicker. I was expecting the parts I ordered from Burton's in England to get here quicker than this, but I was very happily surprised this time. Well, while I was waiting for the rest of the parts to come in, I figured I might as well take that cylinder head apart. I was very pleasantly surprised to find that the head has been redone in terms of valve guides. I mean, I've got 4 nice bronze valve guides in there, and they're in really nice shape, so there couldn't be very many miles on this since this cylinder head was done, because the valves are nice and not snug, but you know, they're the perfect fit in the guides, at least anyway. So yeah, that's good. And the seats on the other side, they look pretty good. They don't look pitted or anything. I'm thinking that just to lap those valves in is probably all I really need to do. And the fact that there was pretty good compression on this engine, in spite of the state the cylinders were in, it's pretty good indication that the valves are in good condition. And there's the little collets that hold the valves in, springs, and cups and the keepers and all that kind of stuff. So anyway, yeah, that's good news. I'll get this over in the parts washer and clean all this old carbon out of the heads and that sort of thing, and clean up the cylinder as best I can. And I'll show you what I get after I'm done with that. There. That's about 10 minutes in the old Varsol parts washer. That's a pretty big improvement if you ask me. Anyway, that cleaned up pretty nice. I will be cleaning this at least one more time because I'm going to lap the valves, and I'll make sure I get all the lapping compound out of here. Like I mentioned, that's just Varsol in the parts washer. And there's no magical solution in there, or there's no blasting in this shop at all. I don't believe in using any kind of abrasives, especially around engines and that, because if you're not really careful to remove it all, it's going to circulate with your oil, and that can cause problems. But I mean, I'm not telling other people what to do, but if you want to use abrasive any kind of abrasive cleaning materials on especially things that are on the inside of an engine, for goodness sake, make sure you spend a lot of time, cleaning and making sure that you get all the abrasives out. Yeah, the heads came out pretty clean. I've had a good look at them. There's no cracking in here between the valve seats and the spark plug hole or anything else. They're not the smoothest I've ever seen, not up to Honda standards, but definitely up to BSA standards for sure. Anyway, yeah, that's ready for that. I'm going to lap the valves after I clean them off. They're sitting in that red box right there. And I just wanted to mention specialty tools and this sort of thing. This is one I bought at the local, at our local Princess Auto store. And you know what? It's really pretty reasonable quality. It's one of these cam lock types, so you can, it's a quick action thing as far as getting the valves, valve springs compressed and that sort of thing. So I had one of these when I was just a young man, in my probably about 25 at the time. I lent it to a so-called friend of mine, and I haven't seen him or my valve compressor since. Anyway, I hope he's enjoying it after all these years. But I do have another one that I made up. I'll just show you that right quick. That I made up years ago after I lent that to him and didn't have one anymore. That's a homemade one right there. It works really, really well. So if anybody wants to borrow a valve spring compressor from me, this is the one that they get. They don't get the nice cam lock affair. So anyway, I'm going to get back at that cylinder head and lap those valves in, and see how that goes. Okay, I'm just going to show you right quick here what I'm doing to lap these valves in. I have a bit of lapping compound already smeared along the bottom of the valve there. Not a whole lot, you don't need a great deal. And then I'm going to use the old lapping stick, at least I hope I am. And there, give that a little lick. Or spit on it. Or just put some water on it. Anyway, you hear that grinding sound? That's the actual lapping paste there, cutting into the valve seat and the valve face itself. So I'll just do this for, I don't know, 2-3 minutes. Make sure I've got a good seat. And I'll pull it out and have a look at it. What I want to see when I'm done is a nice even gray area where the face of the valve has been rubbing against the face of the seat. So I'll show you that in a minute. Okay, now I finished lapping that. Get this valve over here. It's a little tight on the end because there's probably a little bit of a burr around there, but anyway, I will take that off. But the first thing I want to do is wipe that old valve grinding compound off of there and examine that face right here where the seat and the valve are lapped in together. And what you want to see is a nice even gray sort of color where the two parts have been rubbing against each other. This looks really good. I think that will do. I'm going to have a little look at the seat. Let me wipe this off here first. Then I'll show you that. Yeah, okay, let me just get the camera over there so I can show you. You can see that there's a nice gray face there. There's a couple of tiny little spots right here that I may lap a little bit more to try to get them out of there. But anyway, this is another thing I wanted to show you. I use machinist bluing to check the seats and the valves to make sure I'm getting a good seal. This is what I got on the right hand intake valve. You can see that light blue color all around the seat. That indicates to me that the valve and the seat are actually sealing against each other. The trick is you do not want to put very much of that bluing compound on the valve, just enough so you can see it. Then you put it in the seat itself, give it maybe a little wiggle back and forth, like about a quarter of a turn. And if everything is blue, then you know you've done a good job. So anyway, I'm going to carry on lapping this a little bit more, and I'll let you know how that works out. Okay, trying to get that to focus. That's all the bluing you need on that valve. You don't need to put any more on that valve face than that. You see how you can see right through it? Anyway, I'm going to put that valve in there, push it up against the seat, and we'll see what kind of a seal this one gives me. Okay, I'm hoping the camera can pick that up, but I've got a nice blue color all around that valve seat, which tells me I have a good seal on that one as well. Now I'll get on with the exhaust valves. I don't think I'm going to document those because it's the same idea as these, unless I have to cut the seats. If I have to cut the seats with those new way cutters, well, I'll show you how I do that. Right, so I'll finish with the exhaust valves as well. Again, you can see that nice little blue coating on there after just setting the valves in there and giving them a very slight twist, like really about an eighth of a turn is all I did. Anyhow, you have to make sure now that your valves are lapped, they have a place where they belong. You can't go switching them around. So get a piece of cardboard or something and put the valves in that cardboard so you don't forget where they go. And I like to mark them with left and right too, just in case I forget. So it's back in the parts washer just to give these one more little wash out to make sure I didn't leave any of the lapping grit in there, and I'll be able to put that head back together. And there's the head all back together, ready for another 40,000 miles or so. So yeah, show you the other side here. All looks good. Yeah, all right, good to go. Well, I believe this is the first day of fall 2024. Yes. So anyway, I decided that it was time to start cleaning up a few little odds and ends here. So anyway, I polished up the right-hand engine cover and the timing cover, and now I'm going to tackle the primary drive cover. So let's see how I can make that look. Hopefully it'll look something like that. I'm not looking for perfection, but to tell you what, that's far better than ever came out of the BSA factory. There we go. That only took about a half an hour to get that primary polished up to a reasonable level. Anyway, it matches the timing side, so yeah, so this is good. I don't know if I mentioned before, and I don't know if the camera can pick that up. It might, but this area right here was damaged and filled in by somebody who really knew how to weld. Turn that over and you can see the inside of it there. You can see where this piece of metal has been welded into place. So the bike was in an accident, obviously, and what usually happens when that happens is that the foot peg on the left-hand side bashes up against the primary right there. A lot of times you just get a dent or something like that, or maybe a very slight crack, but that one was obviously whole, so it must have been a pretty good accident. But they did a real good job repairing it, whoever did that. So yeah, so anyway, that's it for polishing up the outside covers. I might have a look at that valve cover next. I don't usually polish them up too much, just the side where the finned areas are, but I think I'll have a look at that next. Right, here I am sitting in the corner, just like when I was in the first grade. Anyway, yeah, the last couple of shots there were before and after pictures of the valve cover. Here it is right here. I'm pretty happy with the way that came out. Anyway, I think I'm going to call that it for this particular video. If I go beyond a half hour, it just takes too long to upload it and stuff. So thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed it, it only takes a second for you to smash down that like button. And if you like this sort of content, why, it would be nice if you could subscribe. That would be really great. Anyway, thanks for watching. The next time I will get into the crankcase a little deeper with cleaning. I'll be removing the transmission, taking out the old crankshaft bearings and bushings. So yeah, that'll be for episode number 4. So again, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time. Be good to each other.